I am nervous and I am excited, but I'm just gonna get it out there. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do to support this channel. To every single person that has ever watched one of my videos, or liked on, or commented, to those people that have subscribed to my videos, I am so thankful for you. And if you would like to see even more content from me, I have decided, after consulting with some people and thinking about it and trying to develop some options that I think would be awesome for you, hopefully, I have decided to start a Patreon, and that is now live. For those of you who are potentially looking for a way to help support my channel monetarily, or to see more content from me on top of the regular booktube videos that I do, the information for that is going to be linked down below. Additionally, even if you are not able to or don't want to support that Patreon in any way, I have also created a Discord channel that you can join and we can talk books. I'm so excited about these two things. I hope this will help us connect more as a community. I think this is just going to add to all of the fun that I'm already having on booktube, and I'm hoping that in return I can produce even more awesome stuff for you guys. I don't know why I'm so nervous about this, but the time has come, the time is now. Marvin K. Moody, I'm doing it now. And now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Hey everybody, my name is Michael Knipp, and I have a different type of video for you today. We are going to be tier ranking all of the books that I have read in 2020 so far. The thing that I hope makes this interesting is that I'm going to be tier ranking these based on the way that I feel about them now, after some time has passed, in hindsight, as opposed to what I felt directly after I read them. We can see how much that changes things. Some books there might be more of a disparity than others, but I'm curious to see myself the difference in the way that I feel about these books now versus when I first finished them. Does that make sense? Yes, let's go. So here I'm looking at a list of just all of the books that I finished. I've got them tiered out as personal classic, meaning like I'm going to love this book for like the rest of my life, as far as I understand. So much fun, meaning it was a blast to read. It may not go down in history as like one of my favorites. I mean, like, it was good. I can't like have a lot of beef with it, but I also didn't love it. It was fine. Forgettable, meaning I can barely remember anything about this book. It really wasn't that good. And then I also give myself an angry tier for I very much have a very strong negative feeling about this book in my brain for whatever reason. First off, Anne of Green Gables. This is not the type of book I would normally read. By the way, I've included series as one thing here. Even if I haven't read the entire series, I'm including all of the books from one series in one. So for Anne of Green Gables, I read the first 3 books. Like I said, I talked about it a lot then. These books were so wholesome and so heartwarming. I loved them. So I kind of think that for me, I'm okay putting Anne of Green Gables as a personal classic. It was wonderful, beautiful, sweet, made me laugh, made me cry. I was able to talk about this one with Amanda a lot because she was a huge fan of the series as well. She actually has been pestering me to continue on, but I've just been busy with, the fantasy stuff that I do. So I'm going to put Anne of Green Gables as a personal classic. Start off strong. Now we'll talk about the Lunar Chronicles. So Cinder, I have read the first 2 books, so Cinder and Scarlet. I think, yes, I've read these 2 books. These have been a lot of fun for me as well. Now, so much fun or all right. I feel like when I'm in them, I very much enjoy what's going on. I love the little bit, it's YA, so there's romance, there's tropey stuff, there are fairy tale retellings, but you know what? They are so much fun. I'm looking forward to reading the next one. I didn't really have any negative experiences with them. Are they tropey? Yes. But also thoroughly enjoyable. This is going to be interesting for people that have just seen me, recently talk about Stormlight mainly. I try to read some other stuff. Last year I read even more widely. I've just been on a crazy fantasy kick and I've been embracing it. Elantris. I just finished this one. Personal classic or so much fun in this one. So, I don't know. The thing that's going to make this one hard for me is the fact that I very much want to see more out of this series. Like Brandon Sanderson stated, this is eventually going to be a trilogy, and for that it may become a personal classic. I'm going to leave it in so much fun. It was still 5 stars for me, but I don't know if Elantris is going to be as memorable in my brain in the long... I'm going to have a lot of weird contradictions here with some of the stuff that I've talked about in the past, I think, and we'll see how that goes going forward, but I'm just trying to... this is weird to try to rank it in this way as opposed to just a normal star rating. Also, just thinking about it in hindsight, The Illuminated Files. Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman got together to write this book. It was written as an epistolary, so everything is like in-world text and data. And I love the idea. I kind of had an okay time with the book. I don't remember what I actually gave it in a rating sense, but I think it was either 2 or 3 stars. But for some reason, I remember being angry at the end of this book, and it was an ending that I was okay with. I don't remember why. I read the entire book in maybe one sitting. Maybe that was too much. I'm not sure, but I don't remember loving this book. I remember being angry at it, and I remember saying, I never need to read the other books. And then when I found out that the other books are kind of retellings of the same event, maybe that was a subconscious thing that just made me angry. I don't know why, but also that, based on other things that I've heard about Jay Kristoff's newer, whatever that adult series is, I just don't think that was for me. Kings of the Wild. This book was recommended to me by one of my first book friends, Deanie. It's got some praise around the booktube circles that I follow. Kings of the Wild is this series where Nicholas Eames tries to describe a fantasy D&D style party as if it were bands from different musical eras. So Kings of the Wild is like 70s. I want to say that the second book of the series is supposed to be like 80s rock music. The new book that he's currently working on is supposed to be like 90s rock music. Their series is a blast. I very much enjoyed the first book. I had a fun time with the second book as well, though I didn't think it was as good as the first one. Had so much fun with Kings of the Wild. Leviathan Wakes. Leviathan Wakes is another book that I had a ton of fun with. I have very fond memories of reading it, and I did want to continue with this series. I was not immediately driven to pick up the next book, but at this point in time, I'm actually kind of craving some sci-fi, and I kind of want to pick up the second books in the Expanse series. I also found out that this James S.A. Corey is it's like 2 different authors working together, and I think that's a cool idea. I'm going to re-add these items to the list after I'm done. That way, everything is kind of in the right order in its own thing there, because I think some of these will get shuffled around, but I'm feeling good about Leviathan Wakes there. Also, I just realized that if you're watching this, you may notice that I have a wrap in my hand. Nothing major happened. I got a ridiculous blister chaining tire the other day. Neither here nor there. I'm okay, but it does hurt. Malice by John Gwynne. Just finished this one as well recently, and I really want to get to the next book in this series. This was the book that I talked about struggling really hard to get into. There's a lot of characters and a lot of exposition right at the front, and I know that's true of books that I love, and I do love this book as well, but for some reason, I had a really hard time connecting with it at first. Ended up loving it, looking forward to reading the next one. Obviously, so much fun. This is getting crowded, so we'll see what happens here. Nevermoor, The Trials of Morgan Crow. This is a book that I read for middle grade March, and it has a lot of whimsy. It's like a fairy tale-like setting. When I read it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved doing the middle grade thing, and it was probably my favorite middle grade book that I read for middle grade March. But if I'm being 100% honest, as much as I probably will read this sequel, and as much as I had fun with this book, I cannot tell you almost anything about this book except it's about a girl. It's a portal fantasy. A girl escapes. It was fun, but part of me wants to put it under forgettable, even though I liked it, even though I'm planning on reading the sequel, because it just didn't click with me that much. I don't know if it's because it was middle grade. I don't know if it's the time that I read it, but I don't remember that much about it, and that kind of sucks. Now, Scythe. This is going to be an interesting one, because the longer that I think about this series, the more that my thoughts change on it as a whole. So, Scythe, the first book, I absolutely love that one. I had a blast with it. I think that it was kind of just the arc. It's funny because the series is called Arc of Scythe. The first book was just killer to me. I loved the way it ended. I loved the things that happened. The second book had one of my least favorite tropes in the entire world used in one of my least favorite ways. And that trope affects the rest of the other 2 books in ways that part of me want to puts it at angry. Even though I really loved Schusterman's writing, I want to read other books by Schusterman. I've heard that Dry, one of his other books, is really good. I even kind of like the way that it turned out, but the longer I think about this series, the more I'm kind of left with more of an angry vibe. Is that just like me nerding out about it? I still recommend the series to people, especially if I know like certain proclivities they have. But the longer that I go away from the Scythe trilogy, the more the angry part of my thoughts about it come out. So I might actually put that under angry, even though I have a super glowing review of this series on my channel, and I kind of agree with all the positive things I say. There's just a lot of negative that I feel like I could go into now in hindsight. Hindsight changes everything. Six of Crows. So Six of Crows was another book that was recommended by Deanie. It seems like it's a booktube classic staple of YA. It's like the darker side of YA for like edgier. Maybe it's a transition book. Six of Crows was fun for me. A lot of people who talk about Six of Crows that I've seen talk about its pacing being extremely slow. And I don't know if it's because I read epic fantasy all the time, but I thought that book was super fast paced. I thought it was plot driven when a lot of people say that it was too character driven. I understand why they say it's character-driven. There is a lot of character backstories and stuff. But I thought that book was a lot of fun, and I am hoping to get to Crooked Kingdom sooner than later. It's another one of those books that's been cycling through my library holds, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. But Six of Crows was really fun for me. I find that I enjoy YA books more than I thought that I would. There's actually a couple, a few number on this list, depending on how you rank all of them. And I enjoy Six of Crows. I don't mind the tropes that are there. I like the characters that are there. I thought Leigh Bardugo's writing was excellent. That's something that I don't even always notice. I feel like I should be better about critiquing writing style, figuring out what I like and what I don't like. But with Six of Crows, I actually really liked the way that Bardugo wrote that series, the voice that it had, the atmosphere that it had of like this faux Russian environment was awesome. Next, Skyward. So the Skyward series, Skyward and Starsight, really had a blast with this one this year. Another one, I read both of them back to back. They're very different books, but I feel the same way about both of them, which is that they are a blast. I love the Starfighter descriptions. I love getting to see Spensa mature as a character. I like seeing the world expand so much in Starsight. Loved that one. Jim Butcher and the Dresden Files. I'm going to put this in so much fun. I wanted to binge this series. I still have heard such amazing things about this series. When I read these books, I am into them, I enjoy them, and then when I finish them, I'm like, oh, I should start the next one, but I almost never do. Like, for some reason, they just don't have that drawing power, and I've only just reached the point where people say it starts getting good, so maybe that's on me, but they're still so much fun, though Dresden Files could maybe eventually move up to personal classic if it's as good as the people that I trust and respect say that it is. We'll see what happens when I get there. The Chronicles of Narnia is a series that, for me, is super instrumental, and reading that book was a watershed moment for me, like the first fantasy that I ever experienced. I have to put The Chronicles of Narnia as a personal classic. I don't want to say that I'm completely unable to see it in a critical light, but I feel like I probably give it the benefit of the doubt more than I might with other series because of how important it was to me. I have so many wonderful memories of the series. It was so inspirational to my tastes. Like, I have to put it as personal classic. I have a giant video on the Chronicles of Narnia and my history with it. If you want to see that, I can try to link it. We'll see if I remember that one. The Sundown Motel. This was a book that I also just talked about in a wrap-up. It was a book that it's a supernatural thriller, kind of. Maybe it's just a murder mystery book. It's told in two timelines. It has a lot of supernatural elements that are teased, but ultimately the way that it resolved was super disappointing for me in a way that I describe as happening more common than not. I think for people that like the mystery genre, they like the way that this ended because it fits the way they want to read books. For someone that has my personal taste, I'm trying not to spoil anything, this is why it's so hard. For someone that has my personal taste, the way this ended, it was like, fine, this was a fun detective story. The Book of Boy. This one is a little bit of a conflict for me between I and forgettable, because in some ways this book wasn't forgettable because it was so weird, but so much of it is just, it reads so simple, it reads so fast, but it kind of squanders some interesting plot twists and plot ideals that I have not seen before. I don't know how to feel about The Book of Boy. This book, by the way, was the pick for the middle grade March buddy read, for everybody to read. I had a blast discussing this book with Krista and Katie, and that the aspect of communicating about this book with a group, this was one of the first books that I was able to do this with on BookTube. That being said, the book itself, it's fine. It wasn't that good. But I'm so glad that I read it, and I'm so glad that I was able to discuss that with the community. It was so much fun. But the book itself, The Wheel of Time. So this year I've read The Wheel of Time's books 2 and 3. So The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn, I think. So much fun. It's like epic fantasy that is super important historically. I enjoy it. At the same time, for the amount of praise that it gets, I don't seem to love it in the direct proportion that I thought I would, being such a sucker for all things fantasy. I'm planning on reading the series more. I'm planning on continuing. I had a blast with books 2 and 3, but I do think it's going to be lower on my so much fun list than maybe you might think. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I don't want this to be offensive to any of my friends who I read this book with, because this was another wonderful communal read for me. I was able to read this book with friends in a book club, and it was wonderful, and that group dynamic was amazing. I made great friends through it. I've strengthened friendships through it. The book itself, I kind of hate massive sections of the way that things are done. Some parts I like the way they did things, but there are just so many chunks of that book that are just the author deciding to break the fourth wall and write an essay about his opinions on architecture and the way that architecture is used throughout history. He also just spends a ridiculous amount of time describing the geography of the area in a way that may have been useful or interesting, but it drove me nuts to try to read it, and the actual story of the book is so much less than the book contains. There is so much wasted space in that book. I understand that it was a different time, a different place, but frankly, it was frustrating for me to read a lot of that book. Still had a blast. If I were given the opportunity to do that whole thing again and experience the community again, I would do it. That book itself, though, I don't give a crap. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The Stormlight Archive, personal classic. I talk about that on my channel all the time. That's not a surprise. I have so many videos on this channel now about the Stormlight Archive. I don't need to spend a lot of time discussing it. In fact, might as well freaking move it all the way up there. We'll sort the personal classics real quick. It's going to be Stormlight Archive, #1 for me. It's become my new favorite book of all time. I just finished my second reread of this book this year. I'm so excited for Rhythm of War. Hashtag Stormlog 2020, etc. Let's go on. Twilight. Okay. Twilight is such a weird one for me to think about because, yes, it's so much fun. The Twilight videos that I do for this channel are some of my personal favorites. I enjoy doing them the most because I feel like I can get goofy with them and I don't have to like use my analytical brain as much. In fact, I think like using my analytical brain to think about those books is a disservice to the books, and also it pains me to do that. But part of me wants to do personal classic because I feel like now that I have a knowledge and I've associated with something so culturally pervasive, like I feel like it almost belongs in the personal classic. Even though, it's so hard. This could be completely tainted by how much fun I have making these videos. And so I don't want to, you know what, screw it. I've already contradicted myself in some videos that I've made. I'm going to leave it as a personal classic. It's such a huge thing. I'm going to remember this forever, probably. It's personal. That's what I said. Personal classic. I'm probably going to remember these books forever. Midnight Sun, I'm excited for you. This is so weird. My Life is a Smashed Burrito. This is the book that I recommended for Middle Grade March. I reread it for Middle Grade March. I remember thinking it was funny and had a fun time with it. Obviously, it's the book I recommended for Middle Grade March. But now that I'm thinking about it and like middle grade, this is so bad because I'm putting the middle grade books as forgettable. It feels bad, but it just I'm looking at this. Technically, Anne of Green Gables is a middle grade book. C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia is a middle grade book, so maybe, I don't know. Book of Boy was... I don't want to pick on the middle grade books. There's fun to be had in middle grade books, but My Life is a Smashed Burrito was kind of forgettable. And also, I'm going to dock it a little bit because the author, to try to revitalize his books, I'm not going to hate him for that, but I found out that he definitely modernized them, and he took all of the old references for 90s crap and changed it to modern stuff so that it makes more sense. Like, they changed Walkmans to iPods, etc. Stuff like that. I don't know why that bothers me. I don't know why. I don't want to be overly critical. I'm going to put that in forgettable because, yeah. Warbreaker. So here we go. I'm going to put Warbreaker on So Much Fun. I reviewed that book. I had a blast with it. I think about it a lot. Instead of talking about it a ton right now, because I have a full video review up for that on the site, I'm going to start duking it out in these categories. So we'll start at the bottom. Angry. Which of these books made me the most angry? Probably when I was reading it, the one that made me the most angry was The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I don't know why this is, but in my brain, the one that made me the most angry is the Illuminated Files. I don't know why I have this negative feeling in my brain about that book. I can't remember why I have such strong feelings about that. I don't know what I might have given it 3 stars, but for some reason, I just noped out of that so hard, and I don't even want to read Jay Kristoff's writing again. So for some reason, I don't know. Scythe and Hunchback. Hunchback, I give the author the benefit of being a classic writer. He wrote the book stinking way too long ago. And I don't know. But Scythe chose to use my least favorite trope. But I liked Scythe more. I'm going to leave it this way. Forgettable. I'm going to leave it this way. Yes, I enjoyed the Sundown Motel more than the Book of Boy. Personal classics already set up. So much fun. Let's try to rank the so much fun books. So honestly, even though I'm pretty sure in my Elantris review, I talked about liking Elantris more than Warbreaker, maybe I didn't contradict myself. I think maybe I said the ending of Elantris is crazier than Warbreaker. Honestly, Warbreaker might be my favorite book at this tier. So I'm going to put Warbreaker at number 1. As far as these other books, Skyward might be my number 2 because I love Spensa and the friends that Spensa makes so very, very much. Now that I've stepped away from Elantris, it's not even been that long. It's been like 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half. I'm still really high on it. I still think I'm going to remember it for a long time. And part of it's because it's in the Cosmere. I'm going to put it at least number 3 for now, but Malice might be number 4. I'm having a harder time remembering certain details of Malice, but it's just because there's a lot of details. I guess my battle here is going to be between the Wheel of Time and this. The Wheel of Time I might actually enjoy more. It's real tough. Those are going to be close. The next one is going to be between Leviathan Wakes and Cinder. This is so hard. Cinder, probably. Even though I want to read the next Leviathan Wakes book more right now, I think that's more of I just am really craving some sci-fi. My wife is going to find this video funny, I think, because I'm not naturally the type of person that does ranking automatically. Kings of the Wild, Six of Crows, and let's see, I'll do this. Kings of the Wild was a lot of fun. I think Six of Crows might actually be... This is a lot tougher than I thought on this level. Six of Crows, Dresden, Kings of the Wild. Those are all books that I really enjoyed, but they're in the so much fun category. I'm not gonna overanalyze it. This is where I'm gonna sit. This is the ranking for the books that I've read this year as far as my looking back on them in the past. Double checking this real quick. Does this look like the correct order for me? Yes, I feel weird about Scythe being so low, considering I loved it so much when I finished it, and parts of it I still love, but parts of it I hate so much. I'm curious how much of these ratings correlate. I know these ratings don't correlate to the star ratings that I gave them, because I gave Warbreaker and Elantris both 5 stars, and Skyward was a 4-star book, I think. These all might have been 4-star books. I don't know. I'm not going to overanalyze it. This was a lot of fun. If you guys had fun with this tier ranking video, if you'd like to see me do more of them, please let me know. If you have an idea of something you think it would be fun for me to tier rank, whether that would be Twilight characters or Stormlight characters or something like that, something related to Stormalong, something related to other things on my channel, something related to anything, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any other thoughts, or you think something I did here is criminally wrong, or you think that I'm an insane for doing something on this list, please let me know in the comments down below. Let's duke it out. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe to my channel, hit that bell notification, and you'll get to see more videos in the future. In relation to the creation of my Patreon, thank you for listening to that announcement at the beginning. If that is something that you want to do, please go check that out. I don't know why I'm so nervous about it, but I also am so excited about it. So please, if that's something that you're interested in, please go look at that. And if you'd like to join, I am hoping that we can have a blast together. Regardless, I hope a bunch of you will be able to join on Discord and we can start talking about books over on my Discord. I think that's going to be a ton of fun. I hang on Discord all the time, so I'm hoping that kind of community can build up and be awesome. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope that you're having a good day. I love you all so much. Bye.